Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Pisces for February 2016. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, or click on the link below this video, where you can see more about my astrology blog and other blogs. And also, if you're interested in learning astrology, in February, I will be opening registration for my 6-month astrology apprenticeship program. So you'll be able to see information coming up there in February and all kinds of other stuff. So what's going on in February? We have quite an active month in general, but also specifically for Pisces, some things specifically for your sign. So the first thing I want to talk about are birthdays. Birthdays for early Pisces, so February born Pisces, are going to happen this month, but the rest of you pay attention to what I'm going to say because it's going to be relevant to you too. Birthdays are a magical time in the cosmos when the universe is most receptive to your wishes. All of the planets represent something in our experience, and the sun represents what we want. So when the sun in the sky gets back to the same place as it was when you were born, which is what happens on your birthday, it's called a solar return, returns back. The universe is so receptive, notably receptive to your desires. That's actually where birthday wishes come from. They're astrologically based. So it's a really good idea to make birthday wishes. It's a really good idea to feel them as if they're coming true. Any person that teaches on manifesting will tell you that the more you can feel something as if it's true before it's actually true, that will help make it true. So you write your wishes, you write your 10 wishes, you say them out loud, you feel them as if they're coming true, and you can make a vision board. A vision board is something that you have out in your space that you look at regularly, which will impress your subconscious mind, which is the source of your creation. And it carries the energy of the things you want to create. So pictures, images, phrases, anything that carries the energy of what you want to have more of in the next year is what you put in your vision board. And I have heard people love making vision boards through online venues. I've never done that myself, but that's something for you to consider as well. So really take advantage of this time on your birthday. Now, even if you're watching for your rising sign, this is a magical time for you too. And this is a cycle of rebirth for you as well. So when the sun crosses over the degree that your rising sign is, then you get all of this wonderful rebirth energy also. So this is a good time for you to do a vision board as well. So we have birthdays, and birthdays are wonderful, and then we have the 4 weeks before the birthdays. Some people feel this a little bit sooner. I tend to feel it a little bit like even 6-ish weeks beforehand because I'm sensitive, and if you're very sensitive, you might feel things before they're actually happening. So before the sun crosses over your sun or crosses over your ascendant, your rising sign, it spends 4 weeks in the 12th house. And the 12th house is the house of the deep unconscious. It's like your attic or your garage. It's dark. It's kind of forgotten about. You put things that you don't want to deal with. It gets it accumulates with boxes and dust and God knows what else. So when the sun gets to this place, it's like having this huge spotlight in this place where there's not usually a lot of light. So people can get uncomfortable. They can get agitated, they can get anxious, they can have fears, real or imagined, coming up before them to be dealt with, and this is purposeful from the universe. Some people will self-medicate this away. They'll feel this coming and they'll think, oh, it has to do with another year, what have I done, I'm aging, time, that's common things that people associate with challenges before a birthday. But really, regardless of what we label it as, it's astrological. The sun is moving through and lighting up all of your fears and worries and concerns and anxieties and undealt with stuff. So the better way to deal with this is to confront the issues and use powerful clearing techniques, whichever ones you choose. There are countless ways you can do this, to work it out. One of my favorite ways to do this is with a modality called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. And you can do a search for this online. Tons of free information about it. That's part of why I love it so much, because you don't have to have any money to be able to help yourself. And once you learn how to do it, you can apply it to anything. And it's also very effective. So you can do EFT for anxiety, EFT for issues with abundance, EFT for codependency, EFT for addictions, EFT for whatever. You can find help. So as these things start to come up before your birthday, if you work with them, that's going to be part of the magic of the rebirth. See, what I was saying about this being purposeful is that in order for you to get really clear about what you want to create with that energy of rebirth, you have to get more acquainted with what you don't want, what you have that you don't want, that what is stopping you from having what you want, and clear those issues so that you have more oomph for the creation of your new life. So there's funkiness, but there's lots of raw potential. Okay, so what else is going on in February? We are in the midst of an eclipse cycle involving your sign. We started the Pisces Virgo eclipses this year, which run into 2017. So usually when there's eclipses in your sign, there's major changes during the years of that cycle. So if you haven't already started feeling those major changes, maybe this is the eclipse time where it will really start to drive home that things are changing for you. Maybe you felt them coming. They're definitely coming. So interesting thing about February is that the eclipses don't actually happen in February. They happen in March. March 8th has the solar eclipse 18 degrees in Pisces. March 23rd has the lunar eclipse 3 degrees in Libra. But we can start to feel the energy, the shifts, the news, the events, the circumstances may come in from the eclipses up to 6 weeks or so before they actually happen. So that puts all of February in ripe eclipse change time. So you might be getting word of these new things happening, and the eclipses haven't even happened yet. So this is a really interesting time because changes might be coming to, again, that might seem like they're against your will or against your current trajectory. But this is also a time for you to try to take action on things because there aren't that many months in 2016 where we don't have a personal planet retrograde. So we have 4 Mercury retrograde cycles this year. Sometimes we have 3 Mercury retrograde cycles in a year. Sometimes we have 4. This is one of the years that we have 4. So a massive amount of time is spent in energy that is more moving backwards and going back over things than it is moving forwards. Going back to do things that you've already done or short-term things, not permanent things. That's more the story, going back to things you did before and doing them a different way, that kind of thing. So we have 4 Mercury retrograde cycles this year. And then we have 1 Mars retrograde cycle, which is really long. It officially starts April 17th, 2016 through June 29th, 2016. But if you factor in the shadow periods, then that whole Mars retrograde cycle runs from the middle of February all the way to the middle of August. It's a long time. Mars rules your drive, your passion, your steam, your momentum, your vitality, a lot of your physical energy. So when Mars goes backwards, you get more lazy, you get more uninspired or unmotivated as far as external things go. It might be a wonderful time for creativity though, because you're very internal. So this could be a very prolific period artistically, but the drive to do worldly things with it might be a little bit muted. So here in February, even though Mercury's shadow period is lasting until February 15th, we had Mercury retrograde in January till January 25th, and the shadow period goes till February 15th. And then on around February 18th, the Mars retrograde starts. So we're kind of in the shadow periods in February, but this is still one of the better times of the year to take action on things because there's a lot of good forward movement potential, especially with things that you've been working on already or something from the past that you bring back again. Now, this is the interesting thing about eclipses. Well, there's lots of interesting things about eclipses, but one very interesting thing about eclipses is that it's not generally recommended as a time to try to move forward with things on your agenda. It's a time to respond to what is before you and take advantage of the opportunities that come and dropping your agenda. But February is a time for trying to move forward with things. So you've got your agenda, your personal plan for yourself. And then you have the divine agenda, the divine plan that Spirit has for you. And often there's a huge disparity there. And at eclipse time is when we really see that. Because if you're going along a certain path, then the Spirit comes with the eclipses and says, yeah, no, actually you're going this way. So the less resistance you can have to what the plan is that is laid out before you, the easier time you'll have and the better quality of experience you'll have. So basically, February is a time to try to move forward with the things you think of in your plan, and then be flexible in case Spirit comes and brings circumstances that are completely different than what you planned. That's the gist of the whole energy of the month. So there are some really great dates, February 3rd, February 8th, 9th, 10th, and 13th, where there are some magical lineups. We've got February 3rd, where there's a Mars aspect with Pluto. And this is a very sweet aspect. Whenever we see Mars and Pluto together in an angle that's not coherent, it's kind of dicey, it's stressful. But this is a sweet aspect where these energies of movement and deep transformation are working together. They're in the form of an aspect called a sextile, which is a 60-degree angle. When you have a 60-degree angle, there's action required on your part. So you have to do something in order to activate it. It's not like a trine. A trine is a 120-degree angle where it just brings things, and whether you do anything or not, these energies will come in. But a 60-degree angle, you need to do something. So if around the beginning of the month, sometimes the opportunities come on a day different than the exact day of the transit. So we'll say in the first days of the month, if something comes that you have to take action on, don't not take action because Mercury is not done with its shadow period. That's part of the point I'm trying to bring home. You've got 2 weeks in February that have awesome dates for moving forward, even though there's some still carryover from the past where it's not quite, and communications are still awry and stuff like that. So also on February 3rd, we have the Sun in this beautiful 60-degree angle to Saturn. Same day, 2 aspects, both requiring action. So that you're going to maximize the options that come with these transits by doing something about them. And for many of you, this is going to be strongly aspected in the 11th house or the 10th house. So early degree and some middle degree placements are going to have this energy of Mars and Pluto in the 11th house. The earlier or later degree placements, you're going to have that shifted a little bit, so it's more in your 10th house. So some of you are going to have this having to do with work and career and life purpose and movement forward into your placement in the world. Some of you are going to have this in 11th house matters, which could still be your work. If your work has to do with the 11th house, then it will be work related as well. But it has to do with the internet, social media, groups, organizations, humanitarian efforts, teams. Also has to do with your big dreams in life, not the ones you have at night, but your big dreams. So this aspect is bringing something to fruition having to do with one of these sectors, but you've got to take action on it. Okay, now February 5th to 6th, we've got a series of interesting lineups. We've got Venus and Pluto and the Moon conjunct, which means they're all together. And then Venus and the Moon are going to square Uranus, and Uranus is this wild card. And a square is a challenging angle. So you've got Venus, which rules love, beauty, and money. Pluto, which rules the deep depths of the unknown. And then the Moon, which rules emotions. Those are all clustered together. And then you have Uranus coming in with this like out of the blue situation that might be jostling to you. So fortunately, on February 6th, the Sun in Aquarius makes one of these 60-degree angles that we just talked about before with Uranus. So it's kind of saying, hey buddy, lighten up, So even though there's this chance for jostling or news or information that is challenging, there are some softening aspects around it that could help. Yes, okay, so on February 7th, we have the Sun squaring Mars, and Mars has to do with your movement and your drive, and the Sun has to do with your vitality. So you could feel tired, you could feel like your progress is being impeded. So that's going on. But then on the same day, we have this beautiful 60-degree angle with Venus and Mars. Whenever Venus and Mars are these star-crossed lovers that always want to be together. And whenever they come together in a beautiful angle, it beautifully accentuates everything that they both rule. So love, beauty, money, movement, vitality, assertiveness, So all of the challenging angles that we have this month are flanked right next to these super sweet angles. So, but they're mostly 60-degree angles, which mean you have to do something about it. So I call this month the time for action, even though I give you the information alongside of taking action, that the actions you take may or may not be supported by the big eclipse changes that are coming. So you have to roll with it, you see? But it's definitely not a time to do nothing or to do very little. It's a time to do things, for sure. Okay, so then on February 8th, we have the new moon in Aquarius. And for you, most of you, actually all of you, are really going to have that in your 12th house. When you have a new moon in your 12th house, it's like a time for sabbatical, a time for rest, a time for regeneration, because there's a lot of busy things that are going to come. So the more you can rest and regenerate, the more you can be prepared for the changes that are coming. And then February 15th, we have that end to the Mercury shadow period. And then on February 22nd, we have the full moon in Virgo. And all of you, let's see, except for late degree placements, are going to have that in the 7th house. So there's either going to be this welling up, this completion, this fruition, this dramatic event, this beautiful experience. You know, full moons don't always bring drama and upset feelings. Sometimes they bring really good feelings that are really intense, but they're positive. You know, it's a brewing, it's a welling up, it's a fruition, a coming to completion, something that happens. It's usually emotional, but it's not always a bad type of emotion. But this is going to be occurring for some of you in your house of relationships. So something notable in one of your relationships. The rest of you are going to have this experience in your 6th house. And the 6th house has to do with your health and your pets, animals. It also has to do with your workplace or what you're surrounded by every day. So like a day-to-day situation comes to a head, something like that. Anything that is really brought on from the full moon without any other aspect tying into it is usually something that blows over pretty quickly. So it's really emotional and then it passes, you know? So mostly whatever happens at that time will usually be of no major consequence unless it's linked to one of the eclipse issues or a longer term transit. It's combined there, then sometimes it could be connected to something that's longer term. So I can't see what's going on in your personal chart. If you'd like some assistance with that, you can go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, and click on coaching, and you can see more about my personal coaching. You can also check out my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine, which is available on a sliding scale so that's accessible to everyone. I've been looking at charts for many years, and I've helped thousands of people to move along the path of their highest destiny. And from doing that work in such a concentrated way, I've gotten to see what are the similar things behind the issues that are stopping everyone from moving forward. And so I've put all of those remedies in the Shine program. So I consider myself a solutionist. If you have a problem, I have a solution for it. And generally the solution is something inside of yourself that will then reflect into the screen that becomes your life experience outside of you. So the Shine program is intended to help you bring your shine into the world by clearing up the things that are interfering with that. So check it out. If you've wanted to learn astrology, February I will have open registration for my astrology apprenticeship program. And you can also check out all kinds of other things, including my astrology blog on my website. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.